Sadly, there are so many types of abuse experienced by adults these days, as well as children, and each form of abuse may be indicated by a number of signs and indicators. Please do take the time to read these links in your spare time so you are aware of all the signs and indicators of the following types of abuse that adults might be subjected to, which are listed and explained as physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, psychological abuse, the same as children, and neglect and acts of omission, which would be a failure to provide or allow access to food, shelter, clothing, heating, stimulation and activity, personal or medical care, or providing care in a way that a person dislikes, or failure to administer medication as described or prescribed, or refusal of access to visitors. So neglect or acts of omission may happen to an adult in relationships, or it might even happen in a care home. We've then got financial or material abuse, which includes theft, fraud, internet scamming, coercion in relation to an adult's financial affairs or arrangements, including in connection with wills, property, inheritance or financial transactions, or the misuse or misappropriation of property, possessions or benefits. Then we've got discriminatory abuse, which is the unequal treatment of an individual based on age, disability, gender, or gender reassignment, marriage or civil partnership, pregnancy, maternity, race, religion, belief, sex or sexual orientation. And this can happen in relationships or even in residential homes where some of our visitors might live. We've also got organisational or institutional abuse, which is the mistreatment of people brought about by poor or inadequate care or support, or systematic poor practice that affects the whole care setting, and occurs when individuals' wishes and needs are sacrificed for the smooth running of a group, service or organisation. So we've got self-neglect, which is when a person is unable or unwilling to care for their own essential needs, and it could cover a wide range of behaviours that could be seen as self-neglectful. Domestic abuse, including coercive control, doesn't always have to be physical too. So coercive control is an act or pattern or acts of assault, threats, humiliation or intimidation, or any other abuse that is used to harm, punish or frighten or frighten the victim. For instance, it might even be to take away attention or love from a victim. Grooming is when a person builds a relationship with an adult who's at risk, so they can abuse them and manipulate them into doing things. The abuse is usually sexual or financial, but it could also include any other illegal acts. A forced marriage is where one or both persons do not consent to the marriage, and pressure or abuse is used to force them into the marriage. So it could be emotional pressure from the family, etc. It's also when anything is done to make somebody marry before they turn 18, even if there is no pressure or abuse. Modern slavery is an umbrella term encompassing activities when one person obtains or holds another human in a compelled service. Modern slavery includes, but is not restricted to just this, but servitude, slavery, forced labour, human trafficking. Female genital mutilation is a procedure where female genitals are deliberately cut, injured or changed, usually in some cultures prior to a girl's marriage or becoming a woman, and it is widely thought that by doing so, that prevents a woman from becoming aroused or gaining pleasure from sexual acts. Also, county lines, it is where illegal drugs are transported from one area to another, often across police or local authority boundaries, although not exclusively, usually to vulnerable children and also with adults who are coerced into it by gangs. And the county line is a mobile phone line used to take orders for drugs. And finally, cuckooing is when Drug gangs take over the home of a vulnerable adult or even a young person through violence and intimidation, using it as their base for selling or manufacturing drugs. If you suspect an adult is being abused, find a quiet spot to listen to the adult and make sure you're conveying signs of active listening to make sure they trust you. Reassure them that they've done the right thing by telling you. Inform them that you will need to take some notes of what they're disclosing to you. Remember that these need to be informative, as we said before, factual, and they're not going to contain your opinions. Or you might say the only opinion might be this person appeared scared, yes, or anything like that you've seen, but don't promise to keep anything confidential between you and them, and explain that you need to share the information with a volunteer with safeguarding knowledge to ensure that you have enabled that you're doing the right thing for that person. Try to get the contact details and ask them for the consent to get further support. And then tell me or a lead volunteer and complete an incident form.